I like you two a lot more than this guy.
Hey, what's up, my?
He was gonna say ninja.
The best podcaster in the world, Chrissie Mayr.
Who are these podcasts? WATP.
Yay! We did it, guys. Welcome to our first ever super collab review of Strike Force 5. I'm Chrissie Mayr from the Chrissie Mayr podcast. You might know me from Compound Media or stand-up comedy fame and fortune. Yes. And to my left here is Karl Hamburger. Karl, tell the good people about yourself.
Chrissie Mayr, thanks for having me on this crossover. I'm the host of Who Are These Podcasts, whoarethese.com is where you can find out more information about that. Wherever you get podcasts, you can listen to Who Are These Podcasts twice a week, deconstruction of popular and not popular podcasts.
And last but not least, Mr. Ryan Kinel.
I love your NPR podcast voice you got going on, Chrissie. It's just wonderful. It sounds almost as authentic as the garbage we're going to review today. But yes, I'm happy to be here. Strike Force 5, the hottest new podcast that has hit Spotify, full of all the people that you forgot have been out of work the past 4 months because they're not missed.
Yeah.
No.
So this is the most requested show of all time. The last 3 days, I've gotten nothing but notes from people saying I have to review Strike Force 5. Props to Chrissie being the first person to message me directly and say we have to do the show together, because I've had multiple people send me that message since then. Chrissie got in first. This is a show, if you don't know, hosted by Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, John Olver, and Seth Meyers. Who? Those are people, back when late night television was important, are the hosts of late night TV.
Yeah, it's the writers and actors strike is still going on. I guess they're doing this to raise money for the writers, I suppose. But anytime there's a strike or something like this, it's hard for me to feel bad for anyone, because never do they ever mention the writers, the crew, anybody who lost their jobs because they wouldn't take an experimental medicine. But we all have to muster up all this sympathy when they go on strike. So
it's tough for people to have sympathy for all these people in LA, whether it's writers, actors, even crew people who they were able to work during when LA was locked down. They were able to work while hairstylists went out of business, while gyms went out of business, while normal everyday people went out of business because they weren't allowed to open. But Hollywood continued to operate. So yeah, it's tough to have. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are caught up in it that I'm sure are just normal people doing their everyday jobs. But these 5 hacks, one, it's very clear that they need their writers. Even with their writers, they're still unfunny. They need an audience that's told when to applaud, like a literal light that turns on to tell sheep when to applaud or laugh or whatever to make their show entertaining. Their numbers have been plummeting for years as well. People aren't interested. And when it was announced that they were going off air because of the writers' strike, people really have not missed them, to be honest with you. Right. And I think this podcast is the explanation why.
Who is truly watching this? Like boomers? Is it just on in doctors' offices? Like I just don't know.
Doctors' offices.
It's doctors' offices at 11:30 Eastern.
Oh, right.
Yes.
It's not The View, Chrissie. It's a little different than that. Well, since you guys have started this with a political slant on it, I'll play for you what Jimmy Kimmel says immediately. It seems like Jimmy Kimmel is kind of the leader of the pack here.
This is his brainchild. You can tell out the gate that he wants everyone to know that this is his idea. He's the one that has control over the soundboard. And you slowly realize after listening to this that everyone else is kind of in a hostage situation.
Especially John
Kimmel's
Olver.
the most excited for it.
John Olver almost never
John
talks.
Olver and Fallon.
Yeah, they
John
seem like
Olver
they don't want to be there.
I wish we had the video, because Jimmy Fallon, in the 30 seconds we got, Jimmy Fallon looks like he wants to fucking kill himself already. Right? In just that 30-second video preview we had.
But he is the most likable.
I should point out, like, reportedly, they're going to be shifting who hosts each episode. in terms of who drives the narrative. So this is Kimmel's episode. I don't know what it'll be next time. I guess we'll see.
All right, so
Should
this
we
is how the
play
show.
the teaser.
Oh,
should
you
we
can,
assume
yeah.
should we play the teaser, or should we assume everyone has seen it at this point?
It's up to you. Do you have it ready?
That's a great question, Carl.
Then why did you bring this up if you don't have it? Let me play a clip for you, Chrissy. I've been trying to set up a clip for 2 minutes straight.
God damn it! Okay, I have it. In fact, I have it right here. Let's play the preview. Okay. Ugh. Cringe. Yeah. They're like, look how relatable we are. I'm doing it from my son's room.
I have a fish in the background.
Yeah. Like, this is the guest room of a vacation home.
One more time, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Fallon.
I'm Stephen Colbert.
I'm Jimmy Kimmel. I thought when you said Jimmy, you meant me, Jimmy, but you meant Jimmy.
I always mean you.
But when you say Seth Meyers, who do you mean?
I mean John Oliver.
It's the 5 of us together for maybe an hour a day.
Strike Force 5 is the name of our podcast. Subscribe to it now.
Spotify or wherever else you get your podcasts. But Spotify, you fucks. One more time, Jimmy.
Okay. Yeah, that gives you a sense of what I was very excited to review this whole thing, because Jimmy Kimmel's doing a little bit of an Anne Frank moment up in his attic there. Fallon is in his basement. He already looks suicidal, and this is the preview. So, my goodness, how exciting. All right. So that is the preview. And now,
Okay.
Carl.
So this is from the very beginning, and Jimmy Kimmel addresses the elephant in the room right away because we know these are Hollywood folks.
And for those who will criticize us, who say we don't need a show hosted by a group of 4 middle-aged straight white men, we bring you a 5th middle-aged straight white man, but this one is from England, which is an entirely different country.
So I did find this interesting because I personally don't care about diversity. I just find the best people for the job, and I'm good with it. But they obviously do.
So racist of you, Carl.
I know. Can you imagine? But they obviously do. All they care about is diversity. They're like, oh, so it turns out that we're just like 5 straight white guys. Oh, this doesn't look good. Whoops. At least one of us is British.
We're 5 straight white dudes who are all around the same age and all the exact same level of funny.
Right.
Just to the point where no one actually wants to tune in. We're perfect for this job.
So let's find out what this is. Why are they doing it? How did this all come about?
This is a Zoom that we've been doing since the WGA strike started. When was that? How many years ago did the WGA?
115 days, something like that now.
So did I hear that right? They've been on Zoom calls together every day, and then someone said we should make this a podcast?
Oh.
Is that what they're saying?
I have a hard time believing that. This is what I honestly think. So they all made it very public after the writers strike happened. And they can't continue the show because they don't have people to write jokes for them, obviously. They said, hey, we're going to keep paying our staff out of our own pockets and stuff like that. And they advocated for them to keep their benefits all the way through September, shit like that. Now, I think they're probably a little bit tired of doing that going on 4 months now. So now this podcast, the Strike Force 5 podcast, the proceeds from it, which is being sponsored by, Ryan Reynolds, his gin company and his Mint Mobile are sponsoring it. George Clooney's tequila company is sponsoring it. They're getting all this money from their sponsors, and that's supposed to help their staff. Probably because they were tired of paying it.
I think it's cute how they're all pretending like they're unemployed and broke instead of just essentially on vacation. Like, even the way that Jimmy intros everybody, it's very cringe. He's like, and formerly the host of The Tonight Show.
Well, hey, spoiler, they might not have a job to go back to. And I'm not rooting for this by any means. I know you guys are very anti-Hollywood.
I am.
I'm kind of anti-Hollywood myself. But these people don't realize that they don't have an audience. They're making way more money than they should be making because they don't have an audience. And like you said early on, Ryan, nobody misses them. Nobody's sitting there going, God damn it, if I could just see Jimmy Kimmel's show, my life would be better. Like, everyone has found other things to do. There's so much more entertainment out there that we don't need these people. They're not very good. And so speaking of this vacation analogy, so this is what they say. They go, oh, people keep yelling at us. What's it like to be on vacation? So they comment on that.
What do they say to you?
You enjoying the vacation?
Yeah, right.
Get that a lot.
I'm getting that too.
This is, and I usually say this is like a vacation in the same way a colonoscopy is like a nap.
So I don't get that. I'm not sure what that means.
I'm too young to understand what a colonoscopy is. Yeah. But again, it's like, and I wanted to say before when they're commenting like, "Oh, we're white guys," and I'm like, is he trying to sound like the 35-year-old female living in Brooklyn writer that they all had to just kind of lay off? Like, it sounds like he's trying to sound like the people that write for them by mentioning their race over and over.
Well, they also try to relate to normal people. You could tell with this thing. They're just like, I mean, hey, this vacation is like how a colonoscopy is a nap. It sucks, guys. It's terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what they're really going for by comparing it to the colonoscopy. They're saying, you know, you guys think it might be easy for us to just sit here and not work for 100 days, but you know, in reality, it's really hard for us. It's basically like anal sex. Okay.
Yeah. And they're like, you know, it's a good thing that both my mansions are paid for, or else I'd be a little stressed out. But still, it's no picnic. And then listen to the tag on this right after they said that.
You're unconscious for both of them, but one of them is really what you want on a regular basis.
Thankfully, there were no laughs. No one gave him anything for that. That was rough.
God.
And I guess that's the thing I want to point out about this show. We were talking about this a little bit before we started the show, is how uncomfortable this is. There's no chemistry. And it seems like amateur hour. Here you have 5 professionals who do this for a living, and they have no idea how to communicate with each other or be funny or interesting.
Why the highest paid comedians on earth? That's what it comes down to. They're some of the highest paid comedians on earth. Not necessarily the funniest by any stretch of the imagination, but some of the highest paid. And they sound uncomfortable, and nothing that they're talking about is actually funny because they don't have. Seth Meyers even said it at one point. He's like, I think you're going to notice during this podcast that we're really missing our research teams and our writers. We really need them. They're a big help to us. Trying to make it look like they're victims, but in reality, saying the quiet part out loud is that you aren't fucking funny.
Yeah, and I think it's ridiculous for them to even try to sound like they're unemployed or you know, because how many actors go, you know, are gig to gig and they're gig to gig and they go without money for months, and it's like, no, all of you guys are set. You're all millionaires several times over, and just
which I don't even care. I have no
shitty
problem with them being millionaires.
setup.
I have no problem with them being millionaires, but I hate that they act like they're not. That's the thing where they try to be relatable. It's like, no. You guys are obviously on a different level, and that's fine. Maybe you earned it. Maybe Jimmy Kimmel used to be funny. I think he did. But that's fine. I'm okay with that. But they have no format for this. It's very directionless. And so at one point, they try to come up with something they could do on the show where they say, hey, the listeners can send us questions. Listen to this clip. There's 2 things I want to point out about this.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know, because I was thinking it would be fun if we took questions from those who are listening to this broadcast, and if it is indeed a broadcast, and we have an email address, questions@strikeforce5.com or strikeforce@strikeforce5.com. So you can send your questions to either of those emails, and we will do our best to answer them in an unpleasant fashion.
Okay. Couple observations. First off, he catches himself saying this is a broadcast. He's like, well, maybe it's not really a broadcast. No, it is. Everyone can broadcast now, Jimmy. This is not something special that only you on ABC can do. And that's part of the problem here. That's why this strike is ludicrous and you guys are dumb for doing this. You know, he caught himself?
This could have been so good. Like, how many of these guys were on SNL? And like, Seth Meyers was a writer. Fallon was a writer. And I think those 2 are maybe the most genuinely funny of the bunch. Like, let's hear about old SNL stories. Like, talk about
like Fly on the Wall, which is a great show, right?
Yeah, who was an asshole? Who was cool? Like, that's what people want to hear, and that's what people will never get tired of. But instead, they're like, oh, how was your week?
They should literally just shit on each other. Like,
right.
That's what they should be doing. They should be making fun of each other's shows. You know what I mean? Like that's what they should be doing. That, like, people would enjoy that. People would think it was funny. And like, these people they're obviously rivals in terms of ratings, but they are somewhat friendly. I mean, wasn't it Fallon and Kimmel that switched shows for April Fools a couple of years ago?
Oh, really?
Like I think the Jimmys actually switched shows and broadcasts and everything, which is kind of wild for competitors to do, but yeah.
Very different than the Letterman versus Leto days when these guys hated each other, for sure. But the other thing that I wanted to point out, and maybe this is nitpicking, but I don't think so. The guy goes, or Jimmy says, all right, send us your questions and we'll address them. You can either email them to this email address or you can email them to this email address. Just pick one email address. It'd be one thing if he said you can either tweet us or you can email us. If there's 2 different ways to get in touch with them. But he gave out 2 different email addresses. What's the point of that? Why would I need 2 different choices?
It's unprofessional. Like, just have the one email. And I was thinking, like, yeah, maybe we should send them some questions. Can you imagine how many, like, how much hate mail they're getting now?
I don't know anyone who's excited about this show. And maybe I'm in a different world, but every single person who sent this to me is like, this is horrible. I don't know why they're doing this. It's embarrassing. And I got to imagine they're getting some of that feedback. Hopefully they get more of it. Because that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I don't think they give a fuck. They got these massive deals from their Hollywood buddies for, like, even during this thing, Kimmel revealed that Ben Affleck and Damon offered to pay his staff for a while because they knew they was trying to pay out of pocket and stuff. They have a lot of money coming in to make this thing happen without ever getting a click from Spotify. So they don't need, like, they get the headlines and the initial stuff, and people are clicking out of morbid curiosity because it looks so cringe. We'll see how the viewership holds up. If every episode's like this one, I don't know who's going to continue listening, because it's not, it's so weird and uncomfortable and directionless that it's hard to even fucking shit on it, to be honest with you.
Because you're like, where are we even starting?
Speaking of how uncomfortable it is, so what they're talking about is the fact that they have 2 sponsors. One is tequila, the other is cell service. And so they're going, so this is a great combination because you can get really drunk and then text an ex that you wouldn't want to text because you're drunk, and then you do that. And so they try to make a joke out of this, but this is bad. This is bad comedy right here.
Okay, someone name an ex-girlfriend. Everyone name the ex-girlfriend they shouldn't text right now.
Beyonce.
Beyonce.
Wait, you dated Beyonce?
Not that one. No, it's Beyonce O'Reilly. He knew her in
she's
in the Bronx.
And you know what? What I respect about her, she didn't. Once the other Beyonce made it big, she didn't change her name. She stuck with it.
She did change her last name though. She changed to Beyonce Sherman.
They're all trying to tag it. It's not. None of it's working. And these are, like you keep saying, right? These are professional comics that are highly paid for being comedians, and they don't seem to understand how comedy works at all. Hey, name an ex-girlfriend. Beyonce. Get it? Yeah, she's hot. You never dated her. I get it.
Beyonce O'Reilly.
Colbert's like, oh shoot, name an ex-girlfriend. He's just going through like all the names of like little kids. He's like, can't say that one, can't say that one, can't say that one.
I don't know what you're accusing people of right now.
Oh, for those who know, no.
And I think the elephant in the room with all this shit is what these people, like basically all the people that are hosting this podcast now, what they did during the pandemic, how all these late night TV shows have become so inherently one-sided political. Now, they've always been political when it's been a topic, right? When there's an election season or whatever, it always had been, whether you're, Leno, Letterman, whatever. Those guys at least did a decent job of shitting on both sides. That's what they're there for. They're there for people to tune in and laugh at them, not for political propaganda. And Jimmy Fallon did an entire music video, a musical piece about, this at Christmas time, we'll be in line for a booster, about getting the jab. Stephen Colbert did the Pfizer vaccine dance. All these people who are shilling for Big Pharma and supporting people being locked down. There's so much resentment out there for these people right now.
Yeah, and that brings me up another point that I wanted to make. I have a clip here where Stephen Colbert is telling the story of being at this party, and there's this A-list movie star that he walks over to, and this happens.
I've had guests who were not guests, and I was not trying to book them because I don't book people on my show. At a party, I was at a party once, and a famous movie star, as I walked over him, said, "I don't want to be on your show." I said, "I'm not asking you to be on my show. I just wanted to say I enjoyed your movie. That's all I wanted to say." Oh, wow. But this guy was so sure that I was coming over there to book him that he preemptively brushed me off.
It's almost
he's so butthurt. He's so butthurt by this. You can tell.
But it's almost like dividing the country and calling half of Americans idiots every single night on your show is going to make it so that some people don't want to be a part of that. Like, some people who are movie stars want to sell tickets to all Americans and not just piss off anyone who voted for Trump or didn't believe that Joe Biden was the best candidate in 2020. And so what's great about this is that the follow-up question is, well, was he a conservative actor? Is that why? And then they say, do you think it was you, or does he just not like talk shows?
You think it was more about you, or the fact that he isn't comfortable doing talk shows?
More about not wanting to do talk shows.
Right. So Stephen Colbert's just like, well, it's not me. I'm obviously not the problem here.
Yeah, he must have stage fright. Yes,
he's camera shy. The movie starts camera shy.
Camera shy.
Must be
Holy
it.
shit. In the first few minutes,
literally obligated to promote movies by the studios that hire him.
Yes.
Obligated to do it. Telling Stephen Colbert, I want nothing to do with your show. I think that has something to do with the fact that Stephen Colbert is a bit toxic, but I could be wrong.
yeah, sorry, I don't want to be associated with a show that has people dancing around in syringe costumes. Carl, I didn't know if this was a clip that you were thinking of, but I found it very interesting that in the first few minutes of this show, they describe the very thing that they could do to resolve the strike situation instead of doing this lame podcast. And they recount a scenario that, Kimmel was saying, there was a strike years ago where Letterman and Ferguson came back before us and we were mad. And he was like, I don't know why that was. And I think Seth Meyers comes in and says, oh, it's because Worldwide Pants, they made some sort of, distinction with their company and they were able to be separate from the strike. And then, by having their own production company, they were able to pay off their staff that way. And I'm like, made their own deals with the writers. I'm like, why aren't they doing that? Like, why aren't they doing that right now? Like, what? If it's been done in the past and it makes everyone happy, what the fuck are they waiting for?
Well, it doesn't make everyone happy because the guild would have a very big problem with people crossing the picket line, right? Isn't that what the problem is?
Yeah, like the thing's complicated because this is the worst time for these retards to strike. Like the worst possible time, as Hollywood is failing everywhere. Streaming industry, everyone's losing hundreds of millions of dollars on streaming while people are cutting the cord and less people are watching linear television. So not only is the revenue dropping from the cable companies, but it's also dropping from advertisers because not as many people are watching. All of these guys have basically record low ratings of their show right now. And all the writers, all the actors, like they did the worst thing at the worst possible time. And I think a lot of people in Hollywood, the studios are fine saying, all right, we'll go a little while. We're willing to wait you guys out. So some of the lower level fucking freaks who really aren't even qualified to work at a Starbucks until you guys just finally give up. And we'll have a little bit less of a pool we'll have to pay, maybe a little bit better quality stuff. And we save hundreds of millions of dollars by not making shit in the meantime.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are all losing to Greg Gutfeld. Say what you want about Greg Gutfeld. He is not a stand-up. He's not a comedian. I don't know that he's a great late-night host. I'm sure the show has gotten better from when I originally watched it. But all of these guys combined don't have the ratings of Greg Gutfeld. And they're sitting there acting like they're important. And they're not. There are YouTube channels that are way bigger than them. With these people are way bigger celebrities than these guys are. And they don't understand that Hollywood is not what it used to be. People don't care outside of Hollywood.
And to your point, Carl, why couldn't all of these late night show hosts, whether they have one or they just make one, make your own YouTube channel, stream it additionally through YouTube. That way you can get super chats, which you can also donate to your staff. Like, why are they not doing this? Why are they not streaming on Rumble? Why are they not streaming Rockfin? Why are they not streaming everywhere?
I think it's because, well, it's pretty clear that they are not able to do that without a massive production staff. You know what I mean?
God.
Like, we just listen to this podcast and it's like, okay, maybe initially people would tune in, but would they be able to carry a YouTube channel with a daily show? I don't think these guys could do that. They don't have they don't have the cue cards in front of them. They don't have the teleprompter. They don't have the people writing their jokes. They don't have the researchers. They don't have all this stuff. They have no idea what they're doing.
Right. So they can't even put together what we're doing right now, which is an audio and a video podcast. And I have an example of this. So Jimmy Kimmel, every time they say the name of the show, Strike Force 5, he gets that thunder sound effect. And then they say, well, what if we got Letterman here and it was Strike Force 6? So they try to figure out what happened. And this is them describing what's happening because there isn't a visual element.
And since this is not a visual medium, right now, Steven has his assistant in the room. And
he's wrestling him. And she's taking she's taking a trombone out of a case. He's making her do this live.
Oh, she's freezing up. She's nervous. She's freezing up.
Oh, my God, it's not a trombone.
Oh, God, Steven.
Oh, my God. It's a hacksaw.
Oof.
That was
maybe,
my trombone, by the way.
maybe the reason why they couldn't do this podcast on video is because Stephen Colbert's assistant is 9 years old and fucking jerking him off.
They're all trying to make jokes. Obviously, none of that is actually happening. They're all trying to make jokes like, oh, isn't this wacky? Like, you guys are so out of it. You don't know that podcasting's been going on for so long that everyone's over that kind of thing. Like, guess what's going on in the room right now, guys? You won't believe it. These two are wrestling. It's like, okay, you guys are hacks. This is not good. And they're so obsessed with celebrity. And the rest of us are over it. Here's the thing that, and I pointed this out with Howard Stern when he broadcasted from his house during Beth's birthday dinner. And he had celebrities over there. He's like, you can't believe who's at my house right now. And everyone's just like, who gives a shit? You hang out with celebrities. The problem with celebrities these days is that because of social media, we all have gotten to know their real personalities and we all dislike them. They're annoying assholes I don't want to hang out with for the most part. Not all of them, obviously. But they're talking about the fact that Jimmy Kimmel has these celebrities over and they go fishing at his house. And so here's a fun joke.
Kimmel, is it any truth to the rumor that obviously you have a lot of celebs come out there to go fishing, that you have scuba divers under the water who then hook the fish to the to the rods of your A-listers so that they'll be happy?
Good one.
That's not all he does with the rods of A-listers.
Whoa! All right. Now we're getting deep.
Pew, 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 pew. There was a part.
Go ahead.
There was part of this show where Kimmel's talking about holding his kid back. He's like, "Oh, we just wanted our kid to be the older one in his class." Yeah. It was between him and Seth, and I was like, he's just talking about this. You know, I'm like, a lot of parts of this podcast could have been a phone call. You know, and I know that's. That's sometimes, who knows? Maybe I slip into that category sometimes when I'm just catching up with a guest. But I'm like, I'm listening to this, goes like, a lot of this could have just been a phone call. I don't know why this has to be broadcast over Spotify. And I wonder how you guys feel about this part. So Jimmy Fallon was the only late night talk show host who had Trump on in 2016. And a lot of people said, wow, that was a great appearance. It really humanized Trump. And in fact, like the left really gave Fallon a ton of shit for it because they're like, oh, you helped him win. You helped him get votes. You helped platform him. And I wonder if like this hostage situation podcast is because the left is just never going to let him live it down for having Trump on.
Stop it.
You are fake news.
That's interesting. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I kind of forgot about that as well. We don't have video of this. He seemed to not talk a ton during this. Him and John Oliver, I felt like talked the least out of everybody. I feel like it was mostly Jimmy Kimmel, Seth Meyers, and Stephen Colbert.
Stephen Colbert, yeah, for sure.
I wish we had the video. I really do. We had the 31 seconds, and it was about perfect time to react and make a YouTube video about how cringe and stupid it was. But yeah, it's just, I felt like this first episode should have been something. Like they should have talked about the strike. You know, that should have been it. But instead, they kind of addressed a couple little stories about it, but mostly just meandered around for an hour.
I have an example of that, but before we do that, this is both of our shows, Chrissy. Should we get caught up on Super Chats real quick?
That's an excellent idea. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Carl.
I think we should.
Can I bring up? Yeah, I guess I can bring them all up.
You can bring them all up.
Brock Lee, member for 1 month. Super Chats! Thank you,
Chats!
Brock. Super Chats. Anthony Jadis. Oh God.
Yeah,
and
he says
I'm having a stroke.
Kush Army rise up. So I don't know if you guys know about this, but there's a guy who's declared a radio war on me. His name is Johnny Kush from Marijuana Happy Hour. I guess this is a person who's part of that.
Oh, I love a radio war.
I got to watch out for this guy. Well, the funny thing is that the guy actually has 0 listeners. So everyone who pretends to be one of his listeners is actually just one of our listeners who's goofing on him. So thanks, Anthony. I appreciate it.
I love it. Michael C. It's Super Chat Saturday. Quote, hetero Carla.
That's right. I'm so hetero over here. I'm even looking at Chrissy's boobs right now.
Hey, I'm trying to get viewers just like any
you
other
were
show.
earlier. People were bitching because your hair was in the way.
Oh my God. I'm trying to tease it out. Like if you watch till the end, maybe you'll see all of it.
Smart.
Yep.
That's what Strike Force 5 is too.
Matthew. Oh, what's up, Matthew? Strike Force 5 should have gone to New York City and sat around a table if they are not going to invest in decent podcasting gear for under $2,000. Exactly. They could have cobbled together whoever's in New York City, go rent a space at a WeWork and throw up a couple lights. I mean, like, certainly you're capable of doing what any of us could do at it, doing an out of town podcast. You could easily slap together a little
Well, is this
studio.
going to be daily though? They're going to be doing this daily until the strike's
weekly.
over, right?
Weekly.
Oh, okay, weekly until the
Yeah.
strike's over. Okay.
Probably at least for 10 weeks. So maybe that's how long they expect it to last.
It's going to last longer than that. I know that.
Hamburger. Hello.
Hamburger.
Oh, that's how you pronounce it? Okay.
Yeah, it's Alonzo Hamburger Jones, the comic from the 90s, whose every punchline was hamburger.
I'll have to look into that.
Yo, you should. It's fun.
The singing tags. Chrissy, any chance in introducing Ryan to Louis J. Gomez? I feel like they would vibe well. Why? Because they're both racist. They're both consistently angry a-holes in a good way. Yes, you guys would get along.
Well, with the last name like Gomez, I'm not sure if he's mad at me over my Blue Beetle comments or not. So we'll see.
Yeah, he definitely is not a Latinx.
That's good. Fuck those people.
Fuck him. Mike Cuts, FKB.
Yeah, Kevin Brennan and I were going back and forth on Twitter right before I came on here today. And I guess he just did an episode about me, too, on his Misery Loves Company. So he's
Wow, you're
not
so
happy
special.
with me. Oh, I know.
Why?
Look at me. Well,
Just 'cause
Kevin
you're-
Brennan almost fucked up my ability to do an interview with Stuttering John. It was all lined up. He was coming on my channel, Stuttering John and me, hashing it out. And John goes on KB show right before it, and Kevin goes, "Don't do Karl's show. You shouldn't do a show." And so John goes, "Yeah, you're right." And he started driving to the pub. I had to text John that he's a pussy in order to get him to come on my show. So then I went on Kevin's show, and I was like, "Dude, you almost fucked up my show. Why'd you do that, you prick?" And I don't know, he tried to gaslight us and stuff. So anyway, KB and I have been, I don't know, going at it a little bit since then.
He's great at making enemies.
He is. That's true.
Himmel. First, one last stream before Kush takes you down. He told me today he's planning a 2-hour special on you. By the way, John just yesterday got what raping you means.
John is a super chatter named Ray Ping Yu, and he'd been reading this name all week, and then finally on Thursday, I think he goes, "Oh, I get it."
I just thought I had an Asian fan.
So stupid.
What's up, Raceland? I'll never pronounce your name right. Thanks for becoming a new member. Matthew Hammond again. Please send in emails asking them questions, as you will be one of the 10K watching their podcast. Yeah, I'll be like, Jimmy, blink twice if you're being held hostage. Khalil Bradley, thanks for the super sticker.
Thanks, Boyle.
Delco Chris, adore the Chrissie Mayr and Karl Hamburger. To the haters, not every podcast episode is going to be like an hour primetime special. Calm down. Look, don't apologize for our.
Are there
our
haters
lackluster-
here? I'm not reading the chat. Now I have to go through and read every single chat.
Haters. Usually, everyone always likes all of us and everything we
Of
do.
course.
Yeah, I never had
Fred-
any complaints about anything before, ever.
Right.
Fred Murphy, best hits in comedy. Well, you got to specify
you.
who that's
Thank
about, Fred. Icon Buckets. What's RK's fave part of ISOM? Bunnies plus tortoises.
Well, obviously his massive cock. But no, in terms of the comic book, so I haven't read 2 yet. I got it in the mail last week, so I'm excited to look into 2. But for the first part, I think ISOM #1, my favorite part was the entire meeting and interaction that he had with Yaira. And to me, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the Sasuke sisters doing Yaira and learn more about that character. So that kind of those couple pages there where they had their interactions, that was my favorite part.
My favorite part is like in the middle, it's like a pop-up and then like a big black cock just comes out. You know, it's like a pop-up book.
Exactly. That was a special feature.
I ruined the surprise for everyone.
No
Dang,
wonder it's so
Lizard.
expensive. Holy shit. That explains it.
You can say this strike is ridiculous, but this show makes it painfully obvious how dependent they are on their underpaid writers, while these faces/actors are massively overpaid. Yeah, I mean, it blows my mind how they can't figure out how to do their own setup. And even on this thing where they're supposed to have no help, Colbert has his assistant there. So, and these guys are not even that old.
They should know how to work a computer, yeah.
Yeah.
They aren't that old. It's a true statement. But even when you pay 100 people on your staff or whatever, their product is retarded and stupid. Like there's a reason their ratings are failing. There's a reason no one's been tuning in. There's a reason no one really misses them. And it's because even with 100 people, they can't make Jimmy Kimmel look funny anymore. Like go back to like just having hot women on the streets rub your junk. All right, go back to doing blackface as Karl Malone. That shit's funny. All right, go back 25 years. Be edgy, be funny. But now it's basically just Trump jokes. Like that's all it is anymore.
Jim Satala, hey Karl, FYI, Gutfeld is written by Jim Norton, Nick DiPaolo, Joe DeVito, and a few other comedians whose names escape me at the moment.
Yes. By the way, the staff over there is fantastic. I wasn't trying to knock him for that. I like Gutfeld. I don't think he's a comedic mastermind. I think he's a good political commentator. But let me just say real quick, Joe DeVito. Yeah, Joe DeVito, who I met at Chrissie's wedding for the first time in person, is coming to Rochester, coming at the Carlson this next weekend coming up. And I'm so pissed because we're doing a live show in Detroit.
That's great.
So I was going to have him over to WATP in studio and do the show, but we're doing a show that weekend. I know, he's great. I love Joe.
Did you know I learned an interesting fact today about Rochester?
Ooh, do share.
That it is the place where Chicken Franchise was created.
Chicken
Isn't that crazy? Chicken Franchise.
Are you mispronouncing a dish or something?
Isn't it not Chicken Franchise?
I ain't never heard
Chicken
of that
Franchise.
shit.
How do you say it? It's Chicken fucking
We don't know
Franchise.
what you're talking about. How would we know how we say it?
Oh my God, don't you know any Italians? It's fucking chicken, lightly, I don't know, breaded, fried in a lemon wine sauce.
Chicken franchise or something, maybe?
You say chasey?
I don't fucking know. I've never... Chicken franchise? Chicken franchise?
All right, someone in the chat will know.
A lemony sauteed chicken cutlet finished with smooth white wine?
God damn it. It's from Rochester, okay? I thought that would impress you people.
Chicken. I never heard of it, but I understand. I believe you.
It's for real. Mike Oxbig, 5 old white men. Where's the diversity?
I'm also a fan of Mike Oxbig.
We got a couple more. Torgo the White. Get that super chat! Unbreaded.
Ooh, 15 months member. Nice.
Yep. Some men know how to commit. Neelax 44. Chrissy and Karl are the best tag team. What about Ryan?
Yeah, fuck me.
Wow.
No, Ryan's like that cool manager who cheats for us. He distracts the ref.
I'm Paul Heyman, all right? I'm Paul Heyman. That's what I'm doing right now.
Who's that?
It's like chicken franchise, but for girls. You wouldn't understand.
Oh my God. It's a common dish.
That's what people are saying in the chat. How do these non-Italians not know? It's like, I don't fucking know. Do I look Italian?
It's basic. No. You look like a tall glass of recessive genes. Middle-aged Crazy says, I'd watch you three break down stuff like this regularly. Ooh, good to know.
Wow. Look at it. For that kind of money, this might
We're just
happen.
getting started.
That's
Nighttime Remix might have to check the exchange rate on this, Carla.
Yeah, New Zealand $2. What is that? What does that work out to be?
That's not even real.
We're gonna take
Raceland
back reading
Mosher.
that.
You pronounce it right. Thank you. It's franchise. Dagobert Uber Dangle. Always love Chrissy and appreciate you having Ryan on. Thank you, Fancy KTWO. What does that stand for?
Kill the white one.
Oh, okay.
Which means all of us, I guess. So.
Hey. Michael C. If Carla is hetero, why did he wear a cow bikini?
All right, let's not get into the WATP and creep off lore on this.
This is deep lore, okay?
Yeah.
We don't have time for. I don't like naggers. Ryan is my kind of guy.
Yes.
199.
Right. People who annoy you.
Right.
And finally, from Dang Lizard, Ryan, I think you don't realize how the media landscape has changed. Racist humor is not the solution to everything. Get out of here.
We don't know that. We got to try it first. We don't know.
That's the problem. The media landscape has changed, but people have not. People still think racist humor is funny.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I say that every single day. People still laugh at the same dumb shit that we always did.
All right, let me transition back into a clip here because there's a lot of boring anecdotes, and this might take the cake because Jimmy Kimmel's telling this story about purchasing Gary Coleman's pants, and this goes nowhere. And everyone's polite. They let him get it out, but this probably should not have been brought up.
Years ago, I bought a pair of Gary Coleman's pants off of eBay. He was selling a really regular pair of sweatpants that he'd owned on eBay, and I got the pants, paid $500 for them, and I was very disappointed because the length, the inseam was just like a regular length, and it wasn't what I wanted, so I had them hemmed, and then we did hang them in our studio where they hung for many years without anyone ever mentioning why they were there. And then they just disappeared. I don't know where they went. I don't know who has Gary's pants.
I love that story.
That's a half story, is what that is.
I see what you did there.
Kimmel lives to name drop.
I feel like it would have been much more interesting for them to talk about how Gary Coleman was a big Hollywood favorite because everyone could fuck a dude who was like 4'6", but it wouldn't actually be illegal, as opposed to how it usually is for them.
See what you did there?
Yes.
So basically, the story was I overpaid for sweatpants, hung them up in the studio, and then someone took them. Good stuff.
Wow, he's so cool. Yeah.
I got
all
to
he does is
imagine
name
there's
drop.
more interesting things that happen on the Man Show than you hanging up Gary Coleman's pants, but I could be wrong. Maybe that's the most exciting thing.
Why would you
I
want his
could listen
sweatpants too? Like I could see be like, okay, I'm gonna buy David Letterman's suit for like this memorable time where he hosted his show. I'm gonna get Gary Coleman's sweatpants. What? So like the one time that Gary Coleman was just sitting on the couch jerking it in his sweatpants, like you have that memory. I don't understand.
Only $500. He was jerking it in them. Only $500. That's a steal.
It reminds me of the Seinfeld episode where George like thinks he's buying like a former celebrity's car. John Voight. He thinks he's buying like John Voight's car. And the same thing. It's just like the clout chasing never ends. Like he's like, I'm just gonna use this as a way to bring up a celebrity name. Like he brings up Sarah Silverman.
So
a couple
speaking
times.
of that, speaking of bringing up celebrity names, they're all telling these crazy stories about dictators. And so they try to make a joke here. And again, this is just too much riffing, too much tagging. No one really knows what's going on.
My mom gave Castro a hand job once in like 1975, but that's
75.
Was that a bad year for hand job?
Well, I thought maybe when he was up and he tried out for the Yankees. He came up to New York. I thought maybe when he was in the States. She went to Cuba to give Castro a hand job.
See, there's a lot of things that you just let die on the vine. And for some reason, I guess it's kind of natural. Someone says something like, all right, let me try to make that better and more interesting. But these things go nowhere. None of them are good at this.
Yeah.
Isn't that their job to have conversations with other celebrities? Isn't that what they do every
Right,
fucking
don't
day of
they-
the week?
Aren't they
They're all scripted
chatting?
out.
Aren't they in a group chat? Like, let's hear about your stories. Let's hear about the Man Show. I would listen to an hour of Kimmel talking about the Man Show. But it's
You
just,
wouldn't
it's
want to
so
talk
obvious.
about that though. Like that's the thing.
Oh,
The way
right.
he's changed, like he's apologized for all that shit. He doesn't want. None of them want to talk about the things that actually made them interesting decades ago, right? Because they've sanitized themselves now.
I don't think he can admit that Adam Carolla comes over to his house to watch football. I don't think Jimmy Kimmel can even admit that. He's like, what? You hang out with Adam Carolla, that Nazi?
He
How
still
dare
does
you?
hang out with him. I didn't know that.
I think so. Yeah, I think they're still buds.
It's so obvious to me that Kimmel wants to be Howard Stern, and Kimmel is still, they're friends.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to be funny anymore. Again, these guys, nobody's riffing. They should all be riffing. Like, don't they all come from an improv background? It's just they're so out of practice, I guess. But I think Kimmel is trying desperately to sound like Howard. He's running the conversation. Seth and Fallon, again, they could be riffing. I could just hear the two of them do an episode together. Let's talk about what it was like from being on SNL to having your own show. Talk about that. Like, that would be okay. Wow, that at least taps into some nostalgia, and people go, yeah, I would like to hear about SNL from when it was good. Cool, talk about that.
It's true. Like, these guys are always the ones that are interviewing celebrities. And by that, I mean, it's all these pre-scripted things. The celebrities know what stories they're going to tell, right? All this stuff. But it would be interesting to actually hear from them, because for a lot of these guys, they haven't done that. Like, we don't know a ton about them in terms of those types of stories, because they are the ones that are always talking to people now.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, Jimmy Fallon, he's not as, I don't hate him as much as I hate somebody like Jimmy Kimmel, but like my times remembering him from SNL was just about how he would break every fucking scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what was most funny about him during SNL. So I don't know how good he is at going back and forth at this point anymore. He was just always the guy that would start laughing. They need that.
Yeah.
They need that in this show because no one's laughing at it.
Jimmy just cannot wait for this to all be over so he can get hammered and do karaoke in Midtown. Like I think that's where he's just happiest.
I think you're right. All right, let's have a couple more clips. So they get into this really long conversation about religion because I guess Seth Meyers' family is, what was his mom was going to be a nun at some point, and
Right.
I remember his family was part of the church, and so he says, "Well, I've never been to church," but then he brings up that everyone thinks he's Jewish, and of course, for whatever reason, John Oliver and Kimmel have to get in on this.
As someone who is also not Jewish but likes the look, I have been riding that train for years.
Same here. Everyone thinks I'm Jewish. And I think part of it is because I was dating Sarah Silverman. They assumed we must both be Jewish. But it's interesting how disappointed they are when I tell them that I'm not. And I've just stopped telling them that I'm not.
I've never once thought Jimmy Kimmel or John Oliver were Jewish. I don't know. Is that a thing?
No, definitely not John Oliver. I just don't think anyone with a British accent can be Jewish. I know that that's probably wrong, but it doesn't.
Wrong.
It doesn't fit. It doesn't go together for me.
Okay, so now John Oliver has a very boring anecdote that that this leads into.
I've just remembered a crazy detail from my family. My great grandfather was Queen Victoria's chaplain. And I didn't realize that until very recently. But I've never done Finding Your Roots, and I never will, because I don't want to learn anything else about British history on camera.
This show needs direction. Ryan, you've been saying it, Chrissy. This show needs direction. They should have sat down and said, all right, what should we cover in this first episode? Let's talk about the writer's strike, how it's affecting us. Let's talk about old times on SNL, whatever it is. Instead, they all just sat there and someone would say something, and John Oliver goes, oh, yeah, that reminds me, I learned this thing that's actually boring, and I don't know why I brought it up. Sorry. It just goes nowhere.
You know what they need is they need a host.
Yes.
Like, to be honest,
nice.
that's actually what they need. Even though this is supposed to be kind of rotating, and this was Jimmy Kimmel's turn as the host. They actually need a host, but they should get fucking Jay Leno. They should pull his burned ass face out of the hospital wherever after his car blew up on him. He should be the host for this thing.
Poor Jay.
I would take a melted Jay Leno over these five. My favorite thing that John Oliver says is at one point John Oliver says to Colbert, referencing a story. It might have been the hand job story. He's like, yes, tell the story slowly without forgetting any details. So that to me says John Oliver doesn't want to be there either, because he's like, let's just run out the clock here. And even at one point, Seth Meyers says, and I wrote this down and I quote, nobody likes getting invited on a podcast. Like, oh, people like getting invited fishing. Nobody likes getting invited on a podcast. So I'm like, all right, check. Seth doesn't want to be there. Oliver doesn't want to be there. Clearly Fallon doesn't want to be there. And I'm sure that they just had to say to Colbert, look, can you just stop drinking children's blood for an hour and just please do this so we can all look like good people? It's very, there's
Who
a lot
was
of
it who
struggle.
said they never go on podcasts? Was that John Oliver? One of them goes, I've never gone on a podcast before.
Yeah.
I forgot now who it
one of them
was.
did
But yeah,
say that.
that's what's so funny about these guys. Going back to that clip I played earlier where they're like, so if you're listening to this broadcast, it's not a broadcast. So these guys are so anti the new media. They're so anti what people are actually into because it fucks up their livelihood. And so they're having a real struggle here. Like, well, we're doing a podcast. We don't like podcasts, which goes back to the point where they're like, you got to listen to it. Remember that promo? They go, you got to listen to it on Spotify. It's on Spotify. It's attached to a giant corporation. We swear to God. This isn't a thing where you can just download it from any kind of app. No. You have to go to Spotify and give Spotify money, and then you can listen to us because we're all corporate shills. And Pfizer's great. It's embarrassing.
And take the vaccine and get boosted. And like you guys both said before, they're all late night hosts, but they're all, I feel like, at one point trying to be in control. Nobody's being vulnerable. Everything sounds so surfacey. Nobody's being honest, truly. Like nobody's diving deep on anything. We're not like learning anything new. There's no like real interesting nuggets. The reason why you listen to a podcast, it sounds like a surfacey press junket, like you just are promoting a movie or something. And I'm like, do these guys think that this is good for business? Or are they just so careful because they're at such a high level? They're like, oh, we don't want to say anything that could get us canceled.
Well, they despise the medium. They despise podcasts. They made that very clear. And they're like, But if we have to, we'll go do it. It doesn't work that way. You don't respect the medium and the format, you're not going to be good at it, and it shows. They're terrible at it. I just have one more clip. This is leading into the Ryan Reynolds Mint Mobile ad.
Here we have Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
He is giving money to our staff, basically.
That is true. He is. Yes, he is. And we're allowing it because we're talking about Mint Mobile, which he's also offered Mint Mobile service for free for a year to our staff. So, and I don't know the details of that, but I know that that's the headline there. And Ryan has recorded a commercial for us. And this is the first recorded commercial for the Strike Force 5. And I think that's pretty exciting. And should we roll it?
Let's listen.
Let's get ready.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds, owner of Mint Mobile.
Okay, here's my question, and I'm probably naive. I just don't understand how this works. But Ryan Reynolds sold Mint Mobile to T-Mobile for $1.35 billion. Does he still own Mint Mobile? I think T-Mobile owns it now, right?
So
Maybe he's still the face.
Well, that happened a couple months ago. I don't know if it's officially gone through. Like stuff like that can take a little bit of time to get officially approved through everyone. So that's because I still know YouTubers and stuff that are running Mint Mobile ads as well. So I don't know exactly what the status is of it, or if they're going to absorb Mint Mobile and not make it part of the team. Who knows what they're going to do with it? But yeah, you're right. Like they did do that big deal a couple months ago.
Yeah, their only sponsors are a company that George Clooney started and a company that Ryan Reynolds started. So it's just
two companies that Ryan Reynolds started.
Right.
Yes.
It's just all Hollywood is the only thing that's doing this. And all right, I guess that's a good thing if they're trying to get money for their staff and everything like that. But God, they got to figure out a way to finish this strike, because the longer this drags out, the more people are going to realize that nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's going to go badly.
It's going to go badly. I was looking for the clip because the most interesting part of this whole podcast for me was the moment, and Ryan mentioned this earlier, is, I'm like, why? These guys are rich as fuck. Why aren't they paying for their staff out of their own pockets, like more so? And Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, they contacted Kimmel and they wanted to pay their staff for 2 weeks. And Kimmel ultimately said no, like, oh, it's not your responsibility. And I was like, wow. To me, that just says Kimmel wants all the attention. He wants all the praise for doing this podcast. And they're doing, and I wonder, I'm like, okay, if Ryan Reynolds is a sponsor and Clooney is a sponsor, how much of that does Spotify get a cut of? That I was wondering about. In the ad, which is funny, Ryan Reynolds says, oh, we don't need any of you late night hosts. And I'm like, I wonder if that's, a little bit true, like a little bit like, haha, it's a joke, but it's true. And then, I don't know, I just feel like Kimmel really fucked his staff and he just wanted to be the hero. And I feel like most importantly, Jimmy Kimmel is doing this so he can ingratiate himself with Spotify, possibly set up a deal either for future lockdowns or after retirement from late night, and he just wants this to be his future so he can do this from home, just like Howard. And I think he's taking advantage of the whole strike situation.
He mentioned that he wants to retire soon. Jimmy Kimmel mentioned that pretty early on in the show. And so I think there might be some truth to that. And you pointed out before we started the show, you think that they think there's going to be another lockdown on the horizon.
Because they're the elite. They would be first to know. They would be first to get the email from Schwab and be like, there's another lockdown coming. Get your toilet paper now. I don't know why he's French, but
it's like your chicken dish or whatever.
Cheese.
But I think that if he wanted to do that, he's kind of missed the opportunity. Spotify within the last 6 months has cut a lot of their big celebrity deals, whether it's that Jamel Hill deal they did, the Meghan Markle, Prince Harry deal that they did. Terrible. They got out of that because they did go out and spend Obama, like they spent a lot of money on big name people to do podcasts. And really the only one that's paying off is Joe Rogan. Like everybody else, they've decided to cut and run from those deals. So I don't know what he's going to get out of this.
Yeah,
I think
that whole thing of having a Spotify exclusive show, I don't think works. It does, obviously, for a Joe Rogan, who is the number one guy, can pull that off. And maybe to some degree, Call Her Daddy, Alex Cooper, is doing okay on there. I'm not sure. I don't hear a lot from her these days.
Yeah.
But that whole thing where you're not allowed to promote yourself on YouTube and other podcast apps where most people listen to podcasts. Spotify is not the number one place people listen to podcasts on. So it seems like a really bad idea to have a show that's only in one channel.
The timing is horrible. I feel like the Spotify bubble sort of burst after Rogan, and certainly Meghan Markle was a big, expensive lesson for Spotify. Meghan and Harry were going to do this whole podcast series together. They spent so much money on them. I forget the name of the podcast they were doing, but it got to a point where Meghan couldn't even do her own interviews. She'd have her assistants do the bulk of the interviewing, and then she would record something small from home. She couldn't even show up.
It was
to do a podcast. Yeah, archetypes. She couldn't even show up.
It was so bad that what they would do is they would have her assistant interview someone, and then they would record her asking the questions to make it seem like she was having a conversation with this person, and she was not.
That's pathetic.
That's terrible. It doesn't work. That's not what podcasting is at all.
They're all just like almost funny, all these guys, and it's a lesson for me. It's like, okay, let's say exactly. I don't fault them for being millionaires, just like you guys said earlier. But you look at somebody like Rogan, you're like, okay, he's a millionaire too, but why is he better and down to earth still? And the lesson is, don't just hang out with all fellow elites. Like you can't just get to this point where you're hanging out with your level and above for networking reasons. Like you become out of touch from regular people so quickly. And I just feel like not that long ago, Jimmy Fallon was kind of the people still. And it's just, I think it's just a good lesson.
It's not that hard. Just ask your gardener if they watch late nights. Yeah. Ask your gardener. Ask the chef.
Your housekeeper.
Ask your housekeeper. Maybe the nanny. People raising your kids.
If, when they go to the doctor's office at midnight on a Tuesday, if they happen to catch the late night shows, that's what you got to do.
Hey, sometimes we don't have time to go to a doctor until real late at night. I can't.
You getting a fucking black market abortion and a red state? What are you talking about?
Okay, it's a Planned Parenthood. Are you happy? No.
I wouldn't put it past her. So, all right. So, Chrissie doesn't understand how life works, but she does understand how super chats work.
I do. That I do understand. Let's go to I Came to Laugh at You. Oh, good. At least someone did. Didn't Colbert write and act on the Dana Carvey show? How can he not write anything new?
Colbert has done a lot of great things, and including the Colbert Report. When that first started up after the Daily Show, I thought that show was fantastic. I think everyone really liked him on there.
Yeah.
He was clearly playing a part. He was just playing a character in that. And that's kind of why it worked. And now that we have just Stephen Colbert being Stephen Colbert, it's extremely not funny.
It's so funny. Everyone liked him when he was making fun of Bill O'Reilly and he was doing the Bill O'Reilly character. And then as soon as he showed up to a network on CBS, he's like, hey, by the way, I'm Stephen Colbert. It's like, nah.
No.
It worked because he was the counter to what Stewart was doing. Obviously, Stewart was letting his true political slant come through the entire time he was doing that. Colbert did kind of the opposite. So it worked. It worked very well for them to have, political based comedy. And you're mocking one side, but you're actually presenting that side while you're mocking it, at least in some way. And it was stuff for everybody. Now that is not the case.
Yeah, the show now, I think Bill would say,
fucking thing sucks.
I agree, Bill.
From Nighttime Remix, 2NZD equals 3 Japanese fukuyu. It's currency humor. Oh, okay. That was stupid. Thank you. Michael Gavin Ali show. We need a WATP Chrissie Mayr and Michael Gavin Ali crossover. No, we don't.
Way to insert himself into that. Thanks, not. Michael Gavin Ali.
Thank you, autism.
Appreciate it.
Day one, we have real money. Sure you do. Thank you.
Home run, call me a home run.
From do y'all think Kimmel Stern know they are lame now? I don't think they know.
No. They don't talk to anybody who would acknowledge that they are. You know, you were talking about it earlier, they only stay within their bubble.
Well, especially Stern. So I know a lot about Howard Stern. I watched the whole evolution of this. I know people who worked on the staff and talked to a lot of them. Howard went from a guy who had people on the staff who would push back, and he would get them into the studio and they would disagree with them and they'd have disagreements. That doesn't exist at all anymore. Howard Stern won't even listen to someone who has a different opinion about anything. So he's definitely in a bubble where he's just like, I only want to be praised and I don't want to hear anything else.
Yeah, unless you're going to praise me or perm my hair, I'm not interested.
You're right.
Elsa Barrett, you three play well off each other. I'd watch this every week. Ooh.
Thank you.
And I will wear this top every week. Elsa Barrett again. The Fash Five will never be funny because there's things that they're not willing to say for a laugh. They've lost their edge. That's why you three are funny. And right, we're not hearing enough honesty from these guys. Like they probably have it within them. They have some juicy shit, some funny stories, but they're just so careful.
There's so many rules in comedy now. It's unbelievable. There's certain people you can make fun of, white men, and then there's a bunch of people you can't make fun of, everyone else. And it kind of makes it hard to navigate if you're actually write funny jokes.
Mm-hmm. Cool Cut Casting, late night host contractually obligated to be gay. That explains a lot.
Possible.
Dave, Sarah, hell yeah. Gary looks different. What? Who do you think is Gary?
Hey, Dave.
Oh, okay,
That's got to be
no.
Karl.
Okay. GJJ, don't want to go on a podcast equals Joe Rogan doesn't want me on. Ooh.
Oh, good points.
Is that true?
Maybe. Because, yeah, the I forget who said John Oliver, I thought, goes, yeah, I won't go on a podcast. Like, well, if a show like Joe Rogan asks you on, you might want to do that because that's a pretty big audience.
Or even Timcast, or even like a Friday Night Tights. You know, it's like they're getting
John Oliver on Timcast. That would not go well.
I would love to see him on just for Tim to just interrupt him the whole time. That would give me joy.
That would be fun. I'd listen to it for sure.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Jay Schwalbach.
Jay Schwalbach.
Hold on.
Schwalbach.
$151. Can I hit this for us?
Yes, please.
Yay, super chats.
Thank you very much. That's amazing.
That definitely
Thank you, Jay
deserves.
Schwalbach.
Thank you, Schwalbach. You want to read this one, Ryan?
Sure. My favorite part of ISOM is when he whips it out and just pees on his haters. That's why I'm changing my name to Schwalbachski, a Polish black man who can take a joke. Why no Rumble, Streamlabs, or Locals? Or I would give more.
Oh,
That's
is
the answer for you, Chrissy.
I am not on live streaming to Rumble today. It will copy to Rumble, but I probably could and should set that up.
You might as well have just pulled a Mitch McConnell and not said anything there because that was a fucking terrible excuse.
I should have just done a reboot, a silent reboot like Mitch McConnell. No, here's the deal: is Rumble. I like streaming on Rumble, but like if I don't take the time to set up a brand new live stream, you can't just attach it like you can with like YouTube, Twitch, Twitter.
It's a little bit of a pain, yeah.
Yeah. We're not learning anything new. Was the review for which podcast?
All the podcasting lizard, all of them. We're not here to learn stuff.
Mongo likes boobs and hates boring celebrities. Well, you're in the right place. Thank you, sir.
Can I play something for Mongo real quick?
Yes.
Because Mongo is one of our guys. He has his own jingle.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Thanks for the super chat. Mongo, even though Tukey is well on his way to a primetime network soon. We appreciate the support.
Thanks, Mongo.
Wow. What do you have to do to get your own sound effect?
I assume give money. A lot of it.
Very good, Ryan. You figured that out quickly.
You should have let me figure it out. I would have eventually. From Himmel, honest, did Shuli fake super chats? I don't think so. I don't know anything about that situation.
I'd be happy to address that because I do have some knowledge on that. Shuli's show, Shuli's YouTube channel got taken down for 2 weeks. And people think it's because they were faking super chats that came up during their show Monday night. But, and I don't know if that's true or not. But I do know that the reason why they got the strike was for a violence on animals. Someone put in some type of report on them for that, and because I've seen the back screen grab and everything like that, and I actually talked to people who work on that show before it was announced to everyone else. So it just seems really odd that YouTube went along with that because there was no violence towards animals on any of their streams. It was bizarre.
I see Chris Gore's in the chat, and he's really fucking hammered, apparently.
Chris! Chris, if you've seen the Strike Force 5, I'm going to send you a link. Dang Lizard, the only podcast I played on Spotify is the Pea Pod.
Hell yeah. That was a podcast I did with Kaya and Doug from Who's Right, where we would just take a leak into the toilet. That was the whole episode.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it didn't last very long, but people.
You got to be hydrated for that. The artist formerly known as Chad. Love you guys. FKB. He's such a baby.
Thanks, Chad.
I forgot all about chat. The good Reverend Sheetstain, 9 minutes of scat on screen with D. Snyder today. Yes, I saw Stuttering John had D. Snyder on. I was blown away. I bumped into D. Snyder once when I was at Sirius XM, and he said, "Oh, hey." He said, "Hey," like he recognized me. And that was years ago, and still to this day, I'm like, who the fuck did he think that I was? Because
He was just being nice, yeah.
oh, you know what? Maybe that's just like what he does to be nice.
Yeah, like imagine if like a guy like that just walks around and treats people like that. Like they're really important and he knows everybody. And then you walked away with that feeling about him. It's like, oh my gosh, what an amazing guy.
That's a good
I'm
point.
gonna start doing that.
It's the opposite of how I treat people every day. So maybe I should start doing that too.
Give him the old Snyder treatment. Chris Gore, 199 Dragon Con.
Chris Gore's at Dragon Con, I think, in Atlanta right now, and he's out
Oh.
drinking.
Oh gosh. Where are you at, Chris? Where are you drinking? Thank you, Jesus, for the 5. And Dave, Sarah. Okay,
All
Carl.
right, Dave, you
Oh, my
asked for it. You
crap.
got it, buddy.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Thanks for the super chat. Dave Sarah dislikes Brian Johnson so much he won't even listen to Back in Black.
It is pronounced Dave Sarah, I found out, but our
Oh.
Jingles department thought it was Dave Sarah. But
That
he still
drop
wants to hear it.
sounds almost exactly like the Mongo one.
You notice that? Same music.
Yeah. Just a little observation.
Good point.
Okay. What else did I have here? There's so many favorite parts of this. At one point, all the guys are talking about how they kind of because it comes up because Seth Meyers is like, well, I have a lot of swag and merch from different shows, like if shows that have been canceled or different late night shows or shows that like got off the air. And then I think Olver starts saying, you know, anytime there's a first episode of a late show, I always watch it and I always, you know, feel grace for them because I know what it's like, something to that effect. And I was like, they're talking about how hard running a first episode of a new talk show is. And I was like, oh my God, are these guys running cover for Lily Singh? Because they say at one point, like, I love short-lived late night talk shows. And I'm like, Lily Singh was the worst one of the bunch. Like I think it was just one season, or maybe it was the one season cut short. And it was just absolutely fucking horrible. It's when they thought they could take, you know, a very popular YouTuber and put them on, give them a late night TV show and think that was the rest of it.
Maybe they're running cover for their first episode of their dog shit podcast. Maybe that's what it was.
That's true, too. It's so funny when you talk about late night shows didn't work. I think of Chevy Chase. I think of Magic Johnson. I guess I'm showing my age here because you brought up a name I've never heard of. And I guess that's, yeah, there you go. I'm not the only one who thought that.
Dude, I think they bring up the Magic Johnson show. Kimmel suggests at one point he was offered a job as the announcer on the Magic Hour. I don't know if you guys listened up to this part.
I did not get that far.
Oh, okay, gosh.
Do you have it? Do you want to play it?
I don't know exactly where it is, so I would only just be blindly fondling.
You can just tell us.
Okay. So Kimmel brings up, because Kimmel loves to name drop and brag, and this is his baby and this is his show and he's always in charge. So he starts by saying like, oh, you know, I think I was offered a job as the announcer for the Magic Hour, which was this Magic Johnson show. And then Colbert goes, no, actually I was offered the announcer job at the Magic Hour. And and then Colbert goes, oh, Jim Sharp called me up. And then it just was such a glaring example of like Colbert like big dicking him in real time.
No shit.
It was brutal.
Again, to Ryan's point earlier, if these guys are just fighting with each other and just talking about their show's better than, oh yeah, you think your show's good? What about that interview you did with so-and-so? That would be very interesting. If they're contentious on here. That'd be great.
It'd be awesome. Like if they actually did that, it would be great. It would be funny and entertaining. People would love to see that.
Dude, get your assistant to pull clips of their worst interviews or their worst bits and then bring those to the show and be like, hey, Jimmy Kimmel, what were you thinking when you did this? And then just play the clip and put him on the spot. That would
You the Karl Malone blackface one. You're like, hey, Jimmy, you know, when you dressed up as Karl Malone, did you know that he impregnated a 13-year-old at the time? Or, you know, was that just a benefit? You know what I mean? Like, that would be funny stuff on their podcast.
I think Ryan should be a guest on this show. Book Ryan for your show, guys.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, should we email them with some questions?
Yes.
I think that could be cool.
I think everyone should.
They're just gonna have their personal assistants go through it and pick the lamest shit. Like
that's true. Good point.
And that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah, who is the most famous person you've met?
Is Steve Martin really that cool? Yeah, he is.
Chuck Morris. Ryan Kimmel is not an animal. He's a human being. Human being.
Human being.
A human being. Yeah, thank you.
Human being. Good Reverend Sheet Stain. Pretend there's an extra O for another drop. I don't know. I don't know if that's drop worthy. Thank you though. Because then the people, it'll become less special. Chuck Beck, great job, elitist pricks paying. It does seem like an elitist prick type show. The Good Reverend Sheet Stain again. Best celeb show, Heil Honey, I'm Home, starring Hitler. I would watch that.
That was a pretty good one. So the Good Reverend Sheet Stain, I think we glossed over this earlier when he was talking about what happened on John's show today. I haven't seen it yet. But what this guy does is he changes out his avatar as scat porn. And John has bad vision, so he doesn't see it. So Stuttering John will bring up his thing and he'll leave it up there for 5, 6, 7 minutes. And it's just a guy shitting into another guy's mouth. It's just like, I don't think YouTube.
No.
I think that might be against the terms of service for YouTube. But all right, do what you got to do there, John.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's not great. I don't.
That's what I want to know too. Is like, why didn't they have on Ryan Reynolds as a guest? Why didn't they have on George Clooney as a guest?
Because
that would have been infinitely more interesting.
No, those people have better things to do with their time. Are you kidding me? Right?
Well, not
better things to do.
Kind of. They can't act right now. Yeah, but it's not like they're acting. I guess they're just doing business deals. So.
Yeah. No, they've actually been smart, and they decided, hey, you know what? This acting thing isn't going to work forever. Maybe I'll start up some businesses, and it's working out very well for both of them, I have to say.
Play the high note. Karl on FNT. When? Karl, yeah, you know a lot about nerdy shit and cultural issues.
I don't know.
Got the glasses for it.
I do.
What are your favorite nerd franchises?
So I used to have, if you remember, Chrissy, I think you were over at my house when I had this. I used to have Star Wars skateboard decks and the blister packs on the wall behind me. And I eventually said I should probably, I was like, eventually I should probably like brand my show more since I'm on YouTube and stuff like that.
You're like, I am a grown man. No.
I was born.
Traded him out for a neon cactus.
Yeah, well, the neon cactus is a reference to another podcast that we make fun of. But I was born the year that the first Star Wars movie came out. And so I've always been into to Star Wars. Other than that, I don't know if I'm into a lot of nerdy things. I'm not sure. What would be an example?
Like, do you find interesting like the movies that come out, or like the Avengers franchise at all, or
I saw
really, like DC Marvel?
I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because I was taking an airplane to Florida on JetBlue and they had it on there. I'm like, all right, I got time to kill. I'll watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Have either of you guys seen that movie?
I have, yeah. It's the best thing Marvel's come out with in a while. Most of their shit sucks, but it was not a fun movie. It was a brutal movie to watch.
It's so stupid. And I'm wondering, am I getting too mature for this, or are they just getting dumb? Because the major villain in the movie, this is just one of the problems I had with it. The major villain in the movie has this machine where he can put different animals through millions of years of evolution in just moments. And lo and behold, everything turns into a human, which is not how evolution works at all. So, you throw a bunny rabbit in there, and now it's a person rabbit. You throw a polar bear, and now it's a person bear. And then he creates this whole Earth where everything on this Earth are different people, but they're actually animals that have evolved into it doesn't make
any sense. There's like a ghetto and shit. Yeah.
It's like, who wrote this? James Gunn did, but it's like, did anyone just go, well, do we want adults to enjoy this or no? Because this is so stupid. It doesn't make sense.
I was really hoping that at the end, he was going to peel off his mask and it was going to turn out he was actually wearing blackface the whole time. Just a white dude. That's what I was hoping.
That would have been a good reveal. Yeah, and then the whole thing about friendship, the whole movie was about like making friends and having friends. It was like My Little Pony. I'm like, what is going on right now? I thought I was watching a superhero movie. This is
you basically had like the Dumbledore and Harry Potter scene with Rocket Raccoon, like the white where he met that fucking otter or whatever it was.
Right.
Like in the afterlife. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the bad guy from the first scene comes back and now he's buddies with all of them and they're all doing a group hug and he's just like, hey, I'm part of the gang now, right? It felt like Sesame Street. Like, what the fuck am I watching right now? Anyway, No, I'm not into superhero movies.
Okay, better not have Karl and FNT.
All right, thanks though, Dave. I appreciate it.
Oh,
maybe not the place for me.
You would be fine. Nighttime remix, 15 minutes on surf rock riffs.
Now that I can talk about, for sure.
Riffs or riffs?
Well, I guess riffs without the T. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it should be.
What's an example of a surf rock band?
The Ventures,
Beach
Dick Dale.
Boys? Okay.
No, the Beach Boys, no. But if you think about Pulp Fiction, the Pulp Fiction soundtrack.
Yeah.
A lot of surf music on there. A little miserloo, yes.
Wiggle your big toe. Wait, that's a different movie.
Wrestling
by Cher, not sure. Ryan is human, doesn't seem to have time for sleep, always posting or streaming. Good stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, just incredibly depressed. Yes.
You're depressed?
No, I'm good. Just fucking around. I'm good. Don't fucking actually be concerned. It's not like I'm. God, what's that motherfucker's name? Who's the guy that trolled you on Simpcast?
Chris Benoit.
Chris Benoit, yes. Have you heard about this, Karl?
No, I have not.
So Chris Benoit oftentimes super chats a lot of our channels with Canadian money. Chris Benoit, the former WWE wrestler who very famously killed his entire fucking family.
Right.
He super chatted Chrissy on Simpcast the other night and is like, "Hey guys, I'm really ready to get back into the dating market. My wife isn't in the picture. My kids aren't in the picture anymore. And I just want some advice."
Chrissy
takes 5 minutes and explains. It's like, this is what I really think you should do. Very heartfelt advice for a new single dad on the market. And someone's like, I just looked that guy up and I think it's a troll. It's like,
he's a murderer.
He fucking murdered his entire fucking family.
Oh, that's all right. Not everyone knows WWE lore, Chrissy. That's all right.
Don't expect a woman to know that shit.
I wouldn't.
Unbelievable.
That's funny, though.
It was great.
Jacobo, let's see those hogs, Chrissy.
Hogs.
See, why do OnlyFans when I can enjoy it all right here on YouTube?
No.
Oh, my goodness.
Chrissy,
yeah, exactly.
Cammy's
like, why would... Yes.
Are you friendly with Karen Fian?
I used to be best friends with her. We came up in comedy together, and then she just wrote me off years ago at this point. So I always kind of have I have an old friend wound there, but I enjoyed your review of her podcast. And it seems like she bought a really nice new house from her asshole money. So I'm proud of her for that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, her place looks like it's pretty nice. If you want to check out, so Karen Fian does not like me. I went on Chip's show years ago, and Karen was on there and just made it very clear she did not like me for whatever reason. So we reviewed her show, Only Fians.
She made it clear she didn't like you?
Me personally, and I saw her on your show. Maybe a couple of years ago, where you're like, "Do you know Karl from his podcast?" She goes, "Yeah, I don't like him." She for whatever reason just does not like me. I don't know what I did to her, but she's not a fan.
I don't understand. Yeah, I've tried reaching out to her many times over the years, and I guess I have a hard time believing just people have fucking completely written me off, a lot of people. So, but I have you guys, right?
We still love you. No, she sucks. Karen Fian sucks.
But she's got a house from OnlyFans. Good for her. She's living her best life. Well, this was good. Guys, should we do this again if they put out another episode, or do we hate ourselves?
I'm into it, honestly, because I want to see where they go from here. I got to imagine they're going to make some course corrections for episode 2, right?
Yeah, maybe not do it.
You know what happened? What if they actually recorded episode 2 right after episode 1?
Oh, that's possible. That's very possible.
Do not put it past them. That's why they might not talk about any relevant topics or anything, and they're not going to be on video. So I don't know.
Right, there was nothing topical really discussed.
And
Who knows
that's a
when they
good point
recorded.
because a lot of these Hollywood types are like, let's bang out 5 episodes in a day because I'm on vacation. You know, I got places to go. I don't want to be doing this every Thursday or whatever they have to do.
But I also don't want anybody to come up to me and say, "How are you enjoying the vacation?"
Right. You don't want to do that, obviously.
Ugh. Yeah, it's just the biggest is amazing. I'm like, wow, they're really broadcasting how out of touch they all are.
Which is great.
How
And
irrelevant they are.
Chrissie, this has been fun. It was great meeting you, Ryan. And Chrissie, thanks for bringing us together for this. This was a great idea. And I never podcast on a Saturday night like this, but this has been a lot of fun.
Me either. Usually I have something to do, like plans. But this was urgent. We had to urgently review this.
That's true.
And a couple more snuck in. Matthew Hammond, did you see that people at Burning Man have run out of food and are raiding other people that came prepared? This is a repeat of Fire Festival. Oh, Lord.
Apparently, there's a big storm or something that happened there, and like a lot of people are stranded. Some bullshit. I don't really care. They can all die.
I don't either. They can die. That's what you get. You wanted the whole Burning Man experience. There you go. And they're gonna do another Fire Festival. They've already pre-sold a ton of tickets.
That's not gonna
without
fucking
booking
happen.
a single.
Yeah, that is such horse shit. I don't know how that guy's allowed to even do that. Steal people's money yet again.
Willie
And
McFarlane, yeah, he's out of jail and ready to roll.
I don't know how that's even possible. But as far as the Burning Man thing goes, like, you could take my food and my water, just don't take my drugs. That would really bum me out.
They're gonna say, "Don't take my freedom."
No, just don't take my drugs. I brought those mushrooms for me, asshole.
Did you know? You probably did know this, Carl. Did you know at my wedding there were a bunch of people on mushrooms,
Including, because he admitted this, so I think I can say this, Alex Stein. Which I was like, really?
Here I am thinking, wow, everyone's having a great time at the wedding. We did such a good time. Like, we did a good job planning.
We did all have a great time at your wedding.
We booked a great band. The food, everyone's enjoying the food. Wow, we really did the tables right. No, everyone was just microdosing.
Yeah, no, not micro. And it was funny too. I saw Alex talking about that on a show. He just goes, "Well, I don't drink," and everyone was drinking, so someone offered me some, and there might have been other drugs circulating at your wedding as well.
I would be so nervous to do a brand new hard drug at a special event like that. I'd be nervous.
With a bunch of people around you probably don't know or whatever. Maybe that's why they did it, because they were anxious. Who knows?
Well, I would say a lot of people there knew each other. I think that's part of why it was fun.
We did our first live show in Chicago a couple of years ago, and one of my family members decided to take acid for the first time.
Oh, no.
At our live show. Just like, huh. That's usually a thing like you get with your friends and go out to the woods or something, your first time taking acid. It's more of a ritual. It's not just like I'll do that. That's cool. Why not?
It's crazy. It's like, I don't know. I just don't want to know, because one time I was on my friend's boat and a couple hours into the boat ride, he's like, "I'm on acid." I'm like, "You're the captain. You're driving." Like, what? Be careful. Rasla Majere, you guys have my view no matter your stance on pineapple on pizza.
I'm for it.
You're for it? Ew.
Yes.
Get out of my sight.
I'm against it in principle. Like, if you're gonna have a bunch of shit on it, and then pineapple's one of those things, then it's acceptable. Like Gary from Nerdrotic has this fucking wild pizza that he only uses because he abused drugs when he was younger and his taste buds are fucking shot. I get why he puts all that random shit. When you have that much stuff and pineapple's just in the mix, it doesn't matter too much.
All right, here's my take on it.
I really like anchovies.
Tell me if I'm wrong about this, but a lot of times people do the Hawaiian pizza, which is pineapple and ham. Here's what I do. Pineapple and bacon. Try it.
That's better than pineapple and ham, 100%. Because bacon is just better than ham. Period.
Yes,
do you
100%.
think now they have to change the Hawaiian pizza to now just light the whole thing on fire?
Yeah, it's just burnt to a crisp.
just burn it.
This Hawaiian pizza is too authentic for me. I want to send it back.
Shoot it with a direct energy weapon until it's burnt to a crisp.
It took one day for me to start seeing those memes, but here's your pineapple pizza, just a black rock.
Oh no! So this is the first. We're the first people to figure that one out.
I thought I was having a big brain moment. I guess I'm not.
Yep.
Nimrod, Karen doesn't like white guys. Carl, deal.
I'm over it. It's fine.
She likes MMA fighters. Chuck Morris, I'm having a hard time finding Chrissie Mayr diving videos because I did it at a time that was like social media was like in its infancy. Thank God. They're all on an old camcorder somewhere. Don't go looking for that. I still hold the record, by the way, at my college. All right. Enough about me. This was a great show. Hopefully we will do this again if there is an episode 2. Ryan, tell the good people what's coming up for you this week and where to follow you.
If you just search Ryan Kinel or RK Outpost on any platform, once you scroll through the endless hate content, you'll find me. You'll find my channel. So yeah, I mean, I do a live stream for myself on my channel at 5:30 Eastern PM on Sundays. So that's where I'll be doing tomorrow. And then each and every day, Geeks and Gamers Daily on the Geeks and Gamers channel at 11 a.m. Eastern. And Friday Night Tights every Friday afternoon. Not night anymore. Every Friday afternoon for Friday Night Tights. But thanks for having me on. This was fun.
Friday afternoon tights. This was so fun. Karl, did you do yourself?
Who are these.com is where you can go to find all the stuff, all the links to all of our different things. We recorded the show earlier today. It'll be out tomorrow on our major feed. And that is a show called Welcome to My Vagina. It's 2 women who talk about getting heavy periods, which I'm sure you'll enjoy, Chrissy. It's a good episode that I did with my buddy Vinny Paulino today.
You should just call it Heavy Flow.
That would have been better. Yeah.
That's a good podcast name right there.
That's not a bad idea.
Or Even Flow.
Yeah, nothing even about these two. So that is wherever you find podcasts, where these podcasts, we have a lot of fun. It's pretty much Jocktober, but in podcast form. At least that's what it's based on. And if you want to support us, we do 2 bonus episodes every single month. You go to patreon.com/whoarethespodcasts.
Amazing. And lastly, David Sullivan. Chrissy, I didn't know you kept livestock. Where do you keep your hogs? Again, thank you. I'll just say thank you. Guys, you can see me in LA. I'm going to LA, flying to LA on Monday for the first time since the pandemic. I'll be with Lila Hart and Keanu Thompson at the Pineapple Hill Saloon next Friday and Saturday. Special guest Nick Searcy will be on Friday. Special guest Perry Caravello will be on Saturday. So come on out if you like any of those people. It's going to be a hoot. I'm doing a lot of special podcast appearances while I'm in LA.
But I have to ask, are you going to see my buddies Dick and Vito at all? Are you going to be hanging out with them?
Okay, so before all this drama popped off, I invited Dick to come to the comedy show. I haven't talked to him in a while. I don't know if he still would want to come to the
I had a
show.
feeling maybe there was an issue with that.
A long time ago, I also asked Dick came to the last time when I was in Pasadena doing the Elks Lodge. He came out to that show.
I remember that, yeah.
But no Vito. So I don't know. I don't consider Vito a real comedian, so I think he shies away from like actually going to shows because it's a reminder that he's not really performing.
And he has to buy 2 seats. So
yeah, it's expensive.
It was annoying today. I was trying to defend free speech and the fact that like nothing should be off limits in comedy, and then I get these responses like, "Oh, you're a Vito sympathizer. That means you co-sign everything he ever does." And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying, but people are retarded.
The thing is, it's if there's some sort of line, people are going to draw it in different places. That's the reality, right? If there's a line for comedy, people will draw it in different places. And that's how people end up coming after somebody for a Malaysian Airlines joke. That's how someone comes after me for saying Mexicans are sneaky, right? Because that line when you draw that line and you think it's acceptable to draw the line for comedy, everyone's going to arbitrarily draw it at different places. Everyone's not going to think the same way you do that, well, this is the only thing that should be off limits. So if you are for jokes, then hey.
And that's the thing. If I tell a lot of off-color jokes that are racist, transphobic, like the whole 9, but I also feel like I've earned a lot of good faith in my whatever friends, family, community, whatever people.
You've gone down on chicks.
So,
you can make those jokes. I get
it. No, I mean like off stage, I think I'm generally a good person. That way, anytime a joke that I do crosses the line, I feel like I have people who have my back. But if you spend your life cultivating enemies, you can't be shocked when you say something say and do things that cross the line. And then you're like, oh, wait, there's no support. Everyone fucking hates me. It's like, yeah, you make bad decisions. That's what's going to happen.
Mark Random, are you listening?
Oh, my God.
Listen, I'm not saying anything controversial or anything profound right now, but I think it's been lost on a whole generation or maybe 2 generations of people that freedom of speech means defending speech you hate. It means literally defending people who say things that you disagree with.
And
That's
from
what that
people
is.
you don't like or respect. You know,
Correct.
it's simple.
They're allowed to say whatever the fuck they want to say as well. And right now I'm in a world where everyone's getting their channels banned and people are putting strikes on them and trying to ruin people's shows. And I fucking hate that shit. Let people talk. Everyone's allowed to talk. You don't have to listen to it. You don't have to like it.
Now, if you think that someone's not joking, right? If you think that someone's not joking and that they're being serious or whatever, like that's your opinion that they're not joking, and it's your you can go after them and criticize them for whatever. But when it comes to jokes, we end up on the opposite side of this all the fucking time from people who they were laughing along with everything we fucking said until we mentioned something that tangentially involved them or something that they personally got offended by. And then they want to shut you up. So
good point. JR, Brian is right about those people. Yeah. Okay, so I'll be in LA
Mexicans.
Next weekend. They are sneaky. My God, they came after me so hard too. They're like, "Oh, she's so racist," and it's like none of these people saw the movie. I was like, "You're actually proving our point on how fucking dumb you are," because they're basically saying like, "Yeah, we're all just stereotypes." I'm like, "We're calling it stereotypical. We're calling it racist." Their brains are breaking. But anyway, I will be in Mayapack, New York for a really great fundraiser show September 23rd with Gino Bisconti and Anthony Cumia. Get tickets for that. Tickets are almost getting to a place where they're getting low. So get in on that if you're in the upstate New York, Peekskill, Putnam area. Go to my website, ChrissieMayr.com. And then in October 21st, I'll be in Minnesota doing a show, and I think Nick Arcade is going to be hosting or opening or doing something there. He's going to figure out how to do comedy. I'm like, I love this because
it's going to be all pedo jokes. Just so you know.
He's told me some of his ideas. It's fun though. I'm trying to get Ryan. I want to get you to do stand up. I want to get Cecil to do stand up. I'm going to turn everyone. Anyway, for tickets, guys, go to my website, ChrissieMayr.com. And of course, tomorrow is Simpcast at 9 p.m. Eastern. So tune in for that. We got Tree of Logic, Melanie Mack, Leanne Starr, and Steph, the Alter Nerd. So I will see you.
Tree of Logic on. That's going to be wild.
She is so
She's
amazing.
A riot. Yeah.
She's spicy as fuck. Everybody follow Karl. Follow Karl. I'm having a stroke. Follow Karl. Follow Ryan. It's because it's 100 degrees in this room. It's like a fucking greenhouse.
We can wrap it up. That's enough plugs.
All right.
We get it.
All right.
Thanks, guys. This
Plugs
has been fun.
galore. We love you guys. Bye.